Welcome to Murder with the Misses. I'm Darren.
And I'm Amy, and today we're going to tell you the story about Franklin Delano Floyd. We're going to start, though, with Michael Hughes.
But first, if you're in the market to buy or sell in Oklahoma's green country,
our favorite realty company is McCullough & Company. Just call 918-720-1766.
Or visit mcculloughandco.com.
That's MCCOLLOUGH. Now today's story is special because we have a special guest in the studio. Say hello to my nephew.
Hello to my nephew.
Nope.
Hello, I'm Josh. This is the story of Michael Hughes. There is a serial killer with the same name, but this is not that case. Our case involves a young child named Michael Hughes, who was born March 21st, 1988. To his birth mother, Tanya Dawn Hughes, he was her life. They had a very close bond from the time that he was born, but Tanya's husband, Clarence Hughes, was not a nice man. Tanya had what you would call a rough life. I call it a nightmare, but we'll get to that later. When Michael was just 2 years old, Tanya was hit by a car and fell into a coma. This was a hit and run that they never found the driver of the car. Even though she was in a coma, doctors had a positive outlook for her. They told Clarence that he could save her, but stated that he didn't seem too interested in that. He actually started to sell off all his property in an attempt to gather as much money as possible and run. You're going to see a history of that as we go on. Clarence visited with her one night, as was usual. But the next morning, when the nurses came into the room, they found her dead. She was only 20 years old, and since the doctors had such a positive outlook, they were baffled. Clarence had 2 life insurance policies on Tanya that he had recently taken out, so he went to collect them. But when they ran his social security number in the system to match up the beneficiary on the policies, it didn't match. The social belonged to a man named Franklin Delano Floyd.
And that's a name that a lot of my fellow true crime followers will know all too well.
And there was a recent documentary done on it, so is back in the media.
Yeah, it's coming back to the forefront.
Mm-hmm.
And it should. So this is kind of new to Josh. He's done the research. And to Darren, who's hearing a lot of details for the first time.
I've just started listening to true crime.
Right.
Just in the past, year?
Well, you've heard it from me for many, many years.
Yeah, I hear stories, but this one right here, I actually have not heard of. So whenever they said that, they was going to do this story and everything, I was like, all right, cool. So I'm getting this story hands on, just
same as y'all.
Yeah, same as everybody else. So I don't know what's going on. I don't know. I'm just going to give my opinions as we go.
Well, I'm going to take all sharp objects away from you so you can't throw them across the room.
Okay.
Yeah, this is a wild story. So Clarence, or Franklin, was arrested, and Michael was put into the system. Franklin had fought for custody the whole time he was in jail, but since he wasn't Michael's biological father, he had no rights. Michael was adopted, and when his parents first got him, he was not as developed as he needed to be for his age. He was anxious, scared, cried for hours, rocked himself, and could barely hold his head up. But his adopted parents worked with him for 3 years, and by the time he started school, at the age of 5, he was back on track developmentally. On September 12th, 1994, Franklin came to the school. He held the principal at gunpoint and made the principal sneak Michael out of the school, or he would kill him. So the principal did it. Franklin made both of them get into the principal's truck. After driving a short time, Franklin pulled over and tied the principal to a tree, and Michael was never seen again. Since he was last seen with Franklin, let's go back to his beginning. Franklin was born June 17th, 1943, and was one of 5 kids. His dad was an extremely violent alcoholic that used to physically assault the whole family using a belt on a regular basis. The entire family would hide under the bed together to try to avoid him. Luckily, his dad died when Franklin was very young. And when Franklin was 2 years old, his mom dropped him off at an orphanage. So she wasn't the best person either.
No.
Not at all.
Yeah. In this facility, he didn't really have much of a better life. The kids slept 10 to a room. They regularly had food withheld from them as punishment, physically abused here as well. Only here, it wasn't just the workers that he had to fear. He was regularly beaten up by the other kids. In fact, he was sexually assaulted in a nearby field with a broom handle by these other kids. And the workers would whip the kids regularly. He was caught masturbating once, and they forced his hand into boiling water. He finally escaped when he was 16 years old.
So this is the life that he knew. He went from one shitty situation to another.
Yeah, and it's tough to hear stuff like this because, who's watching out for these kids?
Nobody is watching out for these kids. They're being failed by systems that are put in place to protect them.
And the people that are supposed to be watching them are doing
the things to
damage.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And sadly, it's not just in one case. We see it in a lot of cases.
Right.
Yeah, and this was what, back in the 40s?
Yeah, I'd say at this
50s.
point,
A good stretch.
50s into the,
Until he was 16.
Yeah, and what's sad about it is like this stuff right here even carries over now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Where we're at now. So it's still continuing.
You hear stuff about it.
All the time.
Yeah. So after that, he was on his own. He actually tracked down his birth mom, who was now a sex worker at this time. She did help him forge documents so that he could enlist in the army, but 6 months in, they found out his real age and that his documents were falsified. So he was discharged. But she still didn't want anything to do with him, and she took off. He started a life of crime to support himself. He was stealing and burglarizing his way town from town. He broke into a store once to steal a gun, and the cops actually caught him in the act. They then had a shootout with Franklin, and he was shot in the stomach. So they were able to apprehend him, and he spent 13 months in a youth institution. Once he was released, he moved to Georgia and actually lived very close to the orphanage where he was raised. He stole a 4-year-old girl from a bowling alley, assaulted her in the woods, left her there, and ran. You can't expect to leave a wolf in the wild until he attacks your sheep. He was a threat to society. Luckily, he was caught, and this time he got 10 to 20 years. He wouldn't take that lightly, though. He tried to escape a lot. Just 4 months in, they were taking him to an eye appointment, and he somehow managed to escape. The next day, he tried to rob a bank with a pellet gun, and he actually successfully got $7,000, but was later caught, and they added 15 more years to his sentence. Only 2 months later, he and some other inmates hotwired a truck and tried to ram the prison gates to escape, but they didn't get through. So they then added 5 more years to his sentence. They moved him to a maximum security prison, and once the other inmates found out about the 4-year-old girl, they raped and beat him regularly. Even the guards would beat him as well, so he did what needed to be done and got him a prison daddy.
Yeah, he did. Some people don't realize that inmates are not all created equal.
Yeah, and if you're in there for crimes against kids like this, you're treated like shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, as you should.
And that's a level that's unacceptable across the board.
Right.
But, for him to, steal a truck and try to ram the gates and all that, man, that took some balls.
Crazy.
Houdini.
Because, back then, usually when people would try to escape, they pretty much
just shoot them.
They had a fire line.
Yeah.
Know what I mean?
Yeah. And the eye appointment.
Yeah.
There wasn't a lot of details, but how do you escape?
He just overtook the guard.
It was just one guard with him?
No, you just have to overtake and run. Like if you're in a certain spot, he just found his opportunity and he seized it and he took off.
Yeah, maximum effort.
It's crazy.
Thanks, Deadpool.
Also, he was released in 1973 when he was 29 years old. A month later, he was arrested for slapping a woman and calling her a bitch while trying to kidnap her. He bonded out and was waiting for trial. Just kidding. He wasn't waiting around for anything. He disappeared in June 1973. He got a new identity and lived for 16 years as Brandon Williams. He changes aliases like I change socks, so we're just going to keep calling him Franklin. In 1974, he met Sandy. Sandy had 4 kids. Suzanne, who was 5, Allison, who was 3, Amy, who was 2, and Philip, who was 1. She was having it rough as a single mom and felt like Franklin was going to save her. So they quickly got married 1 month later. Sandy bounced a check and was put in jail for 30 days. When she was released, Franklin and the kids were gone. She starts calling around and later finds out Franklin cleaned out the bank account, left with the kids, and never came back. She later finds out that he left the kids at different orphanages. She was able to track down Allison and Amy and is able to get them back, but she still can't find Susan or Philip. She does find out that Philip was involved in a private adoption, and spoiler, it took her 35 years to find him.
And that is a long time of heartbreak searching for your kid. Information back then wasn't as accessible as it is now, so it was a lot more work and a lot harder to track down your anything, much less a kid.
Yeah, and I mean, it sounds like she didn't give up, though. I mean,
Right.
I would have done the same thing.
Oh, yeah, ends of the earth.
Yeah, absolutely.
Poor thing.
I mean, imagine
35 years.
35. Yeah.
So, and he was how old when
One.
1. So 36.
He's the youngest.
He was 36 years old when his mom finally found him.
yes.
He was.
Crazy.
And you have to think of all these missing person cases. You can't give up
Yeah.
because of things
They
like
could
this.
be out there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I mean, was it Laura Bible?
Yep.
Ashley Freeman. I mean, her mom definitely not giving up. I mean,
Still going strong.
even though, most of them say it's this, she's like, I'm not believing it until I find something.
Yeah.
As a,
I
I feel like it is in you as a parent. You have that gut feeling.
Yes.
You know when something's not right.
Absolutely.
But even if they don't find the bodies,
That's even more hopeful.
yeah, there's nothing there saying you need to stop.
Yeah.
Until something is found,
Yeah.
you got to keep going. Nobody else is going to for you.
That's just a parent's job.
You're right.
And imagining this woman who, as we said, was struggling as a single mom.
Right.
She thinks this man is her
Savior.
savior. Goes to jail for 30 days.
30 days.
And yeah, like and probably that whole time thinking about.
How much was that check?
Yeah, right. Right.
What was you trying to get?
Good night.
But,
Wow.
and then getting out just to find out that
Everything.
your biological kids had been taken by
By a man that you really didn't even know.
a month.
They got
month of
married after
meeting,
a month. Yeah.
Crazy.
So, yeah. So Sandy had noticed that he had a weirdly different relationship with Suzanne. So she figured out that Franklin had kept her. She told the police that Franklin had taken her, but they said that because Sandy and Franklin were married, it technically wasn't kidnapping. Franklin changed his name to Trenton Davis and moved to Oklahoma City.
And can I just say, parents can kidnap their children.
Yeah.
It's a thing. So to say, oh, because he's your husband of a month,
Right.
he has more rights than you do over
Right.
this child, like that got me. I don't,
Yeah.
it just struck a really weird chord with me. I didn't like it at all.
Yeah.
No.
How do you say that to a mom that's coming to you telling you
Right?
all of her kids are gone? Like
It's pretty much, we're not going to do anything about it.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
carry on,
a slap in the face. So Franklin got a job and Suzanne went to school. Everyone said she was a happy, friendly child, but behind closed doors, Franklin was abusing Suzanne emotionally, mentally, and sexually. He would make her wear clothes that were not age appropriate at all and took pictures of her over the years in suggestive positions. He also allowed his friends to assault her as well. After a few years, people started noticing this weird relationship, so Franklin ran again. They became Warren and Sharon Marshall and moved around for years until Suzanne was a teenager. I mention the name Sharon Marshall because that is how some information online refers to her instead of her birth name. We're at January 1983. She's a straight A student, loved physics, wanted to work at NASA. People did notice her conflicting stories, though, on how her mom died. Sometimes it was cancer, sometimes a car accident. It was always something different. They also noticed that she had to be home by 4 p.m. If she wasn't, she would get anxious and fearful. She would just say it was because she had to cook dinner for her dad because he had a bad back. When he would drop her off at school, they would kiss on the mouth, which is not extremely odd behavior, but coupled with all the other stuff, people are going to take notice.
And they apparently were. Like, you can only hide your weirdness for so long before you just can't.
It gets spotted, yeah.
Yeah, people's going to pick up.
Yeah.
And people notice shit, you know, that's why he ran all the time.
Exactly.
Yeah,
as soon as somebody like raised a red flag, he was, I'm out.
Yep. When Suzanne was a senior, she was offered a full ride scholarship to Georgia Tech, but Franklin said that she couldn't go because she had to stay with him. It didn't matter though, because she got pregnant. Once the school found out, they then took back their scholarship offer. It's not known who the father of this baby was, but Franklin set up a private adoption for the baby, and once that was done, moved again. Luckily, Suzanne had graduated high school. They moved around for 2 years, changed names again, and Suzanne got pregnant for the second time. This time, it was by a man named Greg, but Franklin decided to raise the child with Suzanne, and that's how she got Michael. Franklin made her get a job as a dancer in a strip club to support the family. He would sit and watch his daughter dance. He would make comments to the other patrons about her body and even made her get a boob job. But even after the surgery, he felt like she wasn't making enough money, so he started making her do side jobs. She became a sex worker who did private parties, and he would sometimes come in and take pictures while she was working.
And I know that to him, this probably seemed okay, but he obviously wasn't stupid or ignorant to the other reactions he was getting from the outside world.
Right.
So to even just keep doing this, because he does more. I mean, it gets worse, but
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that he was just like, hey, how does she look? What do you think about her boobs? Like, this is her supposed dad. That's so creepy.
Yeah.
Well, what was he taking the pictures for? Was it
his
like certain
own
people,
personal-
or was it for his own gain, or was he blackmailing people?
No, these were pictures of her.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he said that
While she was working.
while she was working, he'd
Yes.
come in and take pictures.
Yes, he would take pictures of her on stage and pleasuring other men.
I got the sense it was for his own.
It is
pleasure.
definitely for his own, because we'll find
I
out
don't know
later
if-
they find these pictures.
Yeah.
First thing that popped in my head was like, who is he blackmailing?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Because obviously,
Because you don't have that mentality
he's-
like he
he's-
does.
Well,
advertising
no, but
it.
I mean, obviously she's not making enough money. So hey,
Right.
let's get some
Yeah.
pictures of some people. Let's make some money.
Yeah.
To me, it was like a comparison thing. Like, I think he was talking to people, trying to figure out what he could do to her to get her to make better money. Like, would you pay more money if she had a D cup? Or,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
was things like that.
Weird.
Marketing.
Either way, creepy. Market, gross.
When I said it,
He
Did-
felt.
Oh.
I felt wrong.
Did you feel
You
dirty
should-
when you said
Yeah.
that? You
Yeah.
should have.
Ooh, that was rough.
I didn't say good marketing.
Okay, I got you. Okay.
He set up a date between one of his friends, Suzanne, and another of her coworkers, Heather. Heather was freaked out that she was about to do this with her dad's friend, but Suzanne just said that he was a lifelong friend of her dad's, and she had been having sex with him for most of her life. Heather was a sexual assault victim herself. She had been kidnapped when she was 9 years old by a convicted rapist and held for 5 years. She was no stranger to this type of person that Franklin was. She told Suzanne to get away, but Suzanne broke down, saying Franklin threatened to kill her and Michael. So Heather decided to keep her secret. Another coworker, Cheryl Ann Camesso, was 19 years old and wanted to be an actress. Franklin told her that he had some connections in the industry and said he could get her into the movies. This movie he took her to was for her to perform sex acts on a beach with Suzanne. Cheryl was reluctant, but did it anyway. At a later time, Franklin tried to sexually assault Cheryl, so she realized that the movie was just for Franklin. For payback, she reported him for collecting benefits illegally. 1 week later, Cheryl went missing.
This guy must really think he's some kind of big bad dude going around hurting women.
Yeah, he only hurts women.
I mean, his relationship with his mom
Right.
as a kid, the stuff he went through as a kid, like,
Yeah.
all this stuff has to be acknowledged by others, and you got to keep your eye on people like this.
Yeah.
Well, these are what we would call a sociopath because they are made by their surroundings and their upbringing and
Yes.
their society that they're in.
And not to sound like a broken record, but after this, they ran again. This time, though, he decided they would be husband and wife instead of father and daughter. He even had a marriage certificate. Suzanne gets pregnant again, and Franklin made $7,000 on the private adoption this time. Suzanne got another job at a strip club. If she didn't bring home at least $200 a night, Franklin would physically assault her. Suzanne started a secret relationship with a customer named Kevin, and she told Kevin what was going on. Kevin wanted to run away with Suzanne and Michael. Franklin found out about this. This is when Suzanne was involved in the hit and run that she eventually dies from.
Well, now we know who did it. We know who did it.
You know, it's sad after all that, that after all that she went through, she had to go out like that.
Yeah.
And, the freedom was right there. She had a guy
she was
that
on the train
that wanted to help her.
Yeah.
And take her and Michael from this evil man.
I mean, that right there was his money.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't going to lose that money.
No. Her co-workers had called the hospital too while she was still alive and told the doctors to keep Franklin away from her. But there was no evidence of wrongdoing, so they did not deny him access to her. He had been on the run this whole time from slapping and trying to kidnap that woman from the beginning of the story. But because he used so many names, they could never catch him. After what happened with Michael, the FBI came in to look for the missing child, and that is when their investigation uncovered all of this. They found pictures of Suzanne throughout the years, and even pictures of Cheryl's dead body. He was then put on death row for Cheryl's murder.
As well he should have been.
That's right. In 2014, Franklin made a full confession, including killing Michael, but he usually made false confessions. He told them that he shot Michael in the head and buried him off the last exit before Oklahoma crosses into Texas on I-35. Authorities and volunteers searched but could not locate the body, so they were not able to charge him with Michael's murder. They speculate that wild hogs likely would have consumed any remaining evidence. Suzanne's third child is now a woman named Megan. She named her son Michael in honor of her brother.
Oh.
Philip was found through DNA in 2020. Franklin died while in prison, January 2023.
Yep. Sitting on death row.
Yep.
That's how long it took him. He just decided to die on his own.
Yeah.
I don't know why it takes so long.
That's crazy.
Well, yeah, what'd you think about that story?
No.
No?
Yeah.
Just no.
Just no.
I mean,
That guy should have never been let out.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
He broke out.
Oh, he broke out?
Escaped.
That's how he got away with all this crap. I know he tried.
But being on the run that
Oh,
long,
he tried a lot.
So when he
That's-
broke out, was it with the eye doctor? Is that what you was telling me?
No, that was the first time.
that was, yeah.
Oh shit.
Because then he,
No, but yeah, he had broke out,
and then
changed his name, and took off.
when he was caught, that's when they added.
They kept adding time to him, but he just kept running away.
Because they added time. They added 5 for the truck.
Here we go.
Trying to
He
run
was
the truck.
released in 1973. So he actually was released.
Oh, okay. So he
Okay.
attempted to escape a few times.
Right. He actually did once.
Yeah.
But yeah, that last time, they actually let him out the last time. You're right.
See, they should have never let him out.
I concur.
Period.
But he was,
Right after they let him out was when he assaulted that woman, slapped that woman, and
Yeah. So
was trying to kidnap her.
think about that. That was in 1973. And he ran all that time.
Yeah.
But changing your name, changing where you're at. I mean, he would up and go. I bet he had go bags in his closet all the time.
Ready.
It's crazy.
First
Yeah.
aid kit,
All that.
Yeah.
a couple of IDs,
So bug out bag.
a bug out
Yeah.
bag. 100%.
And I mean, just
Well, I mean, this story right here was creepy couldn't get any. Well, stories can get creepier, but this one right here was pretty damn high up there on the scale of creepiness.
Yeah, I've been trying to ease you into the true crime.
Yeah. Just the father-daughter, but not really father dynamic.
I mean, he's going into the strip
Basically,
club taking pictures, going to the sex parties taking pictures.
I mean, what is that? There's a name for it. Where the captor...
Stockholm syndrome.
Syndrome.
And they've actually brought that up a couple of times, but she was trying to leave him. Like she talked to Kevin. She was making a move.
And maybe it was just, like a married couple. She was ready for divorce.
Mm-hmm.
But she was.
Just couldn't.
I don't think she was, because she was only 20 years old.
Mean, and she's used to picking up and running too. So I'm sure.
Yeah, this is her life.
Her and Kevin, the days leading up to the hit and run.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure the more they talked about it, the more she was, getting ready to pick up.
I bet in her mind, she was like, that's it.
Yeah.
This is it.
Yeah.
I'm done. But she never.
Just that glimpse
never
of
came out.
A better man, a guy who actually cares about you. And
because imagine mentally what somebody like this goes through, like what they think a normal life is.
Because this was 5. She was 5.
And then
when
once
he took off.
Yeah, she's been completely reprogrammed.
Yeah.
So then when she starts getting out there and starts actually getting to the age where she can realize that this is not okay, then you got to wonder like the mental workout that goes on with you trying to reconstruct your entire brain to be like, this is not okay.
What do I do?
But I mean, and he was, they was doing stuff. He was having stuff done to her at a young age.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. The friend started in with her just like he did when she was 5.
And this wasn't included, but you were saying, was she 14?
She
had a friend.
Yeah, so she was 14, and she actually had a friend come stay the night.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure was new to her, because I doubt anybody had ever stayed the night before this. But they had noticed at school that she wore revealing clothes and things like that. But when this friend come to stay the night, he decided that he wanted to take them to the club, literal club. And so he picked out their outfits. And this was like borderline lingerie, skimpiest stuff he could find. And the other girls like red flag, red flag, red flag.
Yeah.
And this is when they were what, teens?
They were 14. And but to Suzanne, this was just normal behavior.
Just wrote it off to her friend.
Like, wear this, it's cute. It was no big deal to her. He actually takes them to the club and drops them off and leaves them there. And the friend has said that she seemed like she was in her element. Like Suzanne's on the dance floor, she's dancing with guys, and all these older men are just all over them, and it's disgusting.
Yeah.
And then he comes back and picks them up and takes them back to his house, and they're in her bedroom, and the door busts open, and there's Franklin, like with a gun, wielding it around like a madman and screaming. And this poor girl who lives a probably normal life is like, holy shit, we're about to die. And then he just starts laughing.
Like
and Suzanne's
happened.
like, oh, that's just Dad.
Yeah.
No, that's not just Dad.
Because first off, he really isn't your dad.
Yeah, but they don't know that.
And the whole thing is, why didn't that girl go home and tell her parents?
Yeah.
That
is a question,
too.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Out of all this stuff, the girl went to school and everything else, and then, teachers, everybody, why didn't they say something? Why didn't they get a hold of the authorities? Why didn't they do more?
That's a question we ask a lot on this show.
We do. We ask that a whole lot.
Mm-hmm.
Way more than what we should.
Yeah. The guys, you go to a strip club and you see what could even be considered as a minor in there.
Mm-hmm.
That you're gonna notice that, and that's
she wasn't a minor when she went to the strip clubs. When he took them to the club, it was
14.
a legit club. It wasn't a strip
That
club.
was just a regular club,
okay.
like
It was
a dance.
Oomta club.
I was
No, that would be
Not
a
a
strip
bow
club.
chicka bow wow. Oh, well, I got my music mixed up.
yeah, different tracks.
Different tracks.
And we like my do.
Okay,
Okay.
that's not any strip club I want to go to.
Hey, that strip club might be the best one you ever go to.
It's in a barn. Okay, it's in a barn. Let's get real.
Hey,
Yeah, but this wasn't in the 70s, was it?
Yeah.
During-
Well, I mean,
so this
he
would be-
met her
so-
mom, so she was 5 in the 70s.
Oh, okay, so teens, so she's about
74.
80s. So the teens, she was this was the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
So this would be Square Dance Hall.
I doubt they were going to square dance halls in Georgia. Well, they might have been. I just realized
It's the 80s.
Georgia. I'm pretty sure it was just a straight up nightclub.
Oh, okay. So it's like the Hodeo.
I wasn't there
Howdy.
personally, but I'm pretty sure it was just a standard nightclub. But anyways, he used to do weird stuff like that all the time. So
Yeah. Well, is there anything else?
I think that's pretty much it. Josh, would you like to add anything during your special episode?
I just appreciate you guys letting me come on, and yeah, I had a really good time.
You'll
Thank
come
you.
back.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yay.
All right. Well, we appreciate you guys tuning in. Until the next one.
Bye.
Bye.